Ace Combat Assault Horizon is a giant turd. How do you fuck up something this badly? More importantly, why is this fucking nerd revisiting this shitty game? Well, some things have changed. I finally received a gamepad and I'm surprised how much I enjoy using it. However, if you think that excuses the game from having terrible joystick support, then please buy my 20-part instructional course on how to become a seal, an in-depth look at aquatic mammal behavior and how to mimic it. Since I got a gamepad, I decided I would revisit Assault Horizon. Maybe it would be more enjoyable now that I had a pad. I went into this with hope that it would be at least more enjoyable to some degree. I came away so disappointed that it's like trying to watch the History Channel as of recent. So what could have been done to avoid this? Well, the simplest solution would have been just don't fucking do it. Really, why the fuck do we even need more Ace Combats? Ace Combat 6 is supposedly a very good entry. The PlayStation 2 trilogy is classic, and the PlayStation trilogy is classic too. There's even a few decent handheld games to throw in there as well. That's a pretty good run. They should have just left it at that. Maybe come up with something new. They like making big aerial fortresses and crazy super fighters. Why not roll with that? Having an updated Ace Combat 3 with the gameplay formula from Ace Combat 6 would possibly sell pretty damn well. Just market the game with that obnoxious, by the makers of this famous game you tools all fucking loved, and there you go. But no, they can't leave it alone. So what is wrong with Assault Horizon as a game? An easier question would be what's right with it. Let's go ahead and start with the good. The only real thing that I can give it is that it has some pretty decent visuals, at least when everything's moving. It's going to be a running theme with this game, actually. It looks good until you stop and give it more than just a glance. You take a look at this running on a decent PC and you think, wow, that looks really slick. But the devil's in the details, specifically the texture details. It's pretty mediocre. On top of that, the aircraft models look on par with the PlayStation 2 NPC models from Zero and Unsung War. It's downright unimpressive. The reason it looks as good as it does is because the game bathes everything it renders in loads of post-processing. You can't make decent textures? Rock that bloom, son! Now, I have to admit right here, I'm very lenient on game visuals. As long as they get the job done, they're good enough. Now, the game's story is pretty stupid and is used to essentially string together action pieces. It's your typical primetime schlock, every bit as unimaginative and formulaic as 24. Seriously, why did you people like this shitty program? It was so predictable I felt like fucking Miss Cleo. So, you're flying over Miami and a load of explosions are going off. You're taking on a retarded roller coaster ride of a sequence that teaches you to play the game as it showcases the dogfight mode, or DFM. Then you get shot down and ooga booga, it's a scary dream. And then because we love the taste of Ridley Scott's dick so much, we're gonna do this door gunner thing while flying around in Africa.
The only thing down there is Mogadishu.
Then some other stupid fucking noise happens and you find out that you're with NATO in Africa and you're working with the Russians on some operation to fight some enemy faction we're never really introduced to. But they got MiGs and they're waging a war, so that's good enough. It's also pretty obvious, since Russians are the eternal bad guys in these games, there's going to be a double cross, so why the Russians? The obvious reason is because they make the MiGs and the Sukhois, and Ace Combat fans can't get enough of those sleek, sexy boys and... I mean Sukhois. Yeah, I mean Sukhois. But here's the problem with that. The Russian Air Force is pretty small. Now this would make a lot more sense if it were done in the 80s when there was still a Soviet Union. But that means we can't have our super cool stealth fighters. Why couldn't we have both? Ace Combat has always reveled in how bombastic it was. Why not establish an alternate future Earth in which the Soviet Union still existed? That could be cool. But that might have taken some effort thinking up a backstory. Okay, so after we copy Call of Duty again without any shame, the Russians switch sides and take off. And then they turn around and fight you. But why? Why not just leave? What kind of George Lucas logic is this? It's made obvious that the Russian commander doesn't like being here, so honestly, why even turn to fight?
My men do not need help from the Americans, General. We will take the rebels ourselves.
Fighter escort is standard procedure, General Stagliashov. You know that. NATO policy.
We are Russians, General Lepore, not NATO.
they'd probably just think, oh hey, they've had their fill and we're leaving, or something like that. There's really no point to fighting each other outside of establishing an excuse to have explosions that are without any kind of consequence. It's becoming a running theme, isn't it? We have to make it painfully obvious that there is a double cross. It's not like a hurried takeoff like this is at all suspicious. Nope, we're just taking off with our fighter jets, armed to the teeth. We're going deer hunting in Texas, so we deal with the Russians and fly all over the world. By that I mean we go to the Middle East for 2 missions and then go to Russia for the rest of the game. Oh, and then come back to the US at the end. I should also mention that we're at the halfway point of the game already. Yep, they really thought this one through. In the other games, we'd be seeing a variety of environments. Here it's just sand, snow, and suburbs. That's pretty fucking boring. Okay, so we find out more about the bad Russians. They're those evil ultra-nationalist types, and they're trying to take over Russia. That explosion we've seen multiple times, it's called Trinity. It's like a nuke, but it's not a nuke because it's okay to slaughter other people en masse as long as we're doing it the green way. Remember, terrorism is okay as long as it's eco-friendly. Okay, so Melashenko... Oh, wait, that's a good game. I mean, Markov wants revenge on the US for killing his wife that he married in secret because Russians didn't want anyone knowing they were involved in Bosnia, even though everyone knows they were in Bosnia. So he takes the Trinity warhead and flies to the US by escaping to Africa, then to South America, and then up to North America. Ow. These guys are renegades, and Moscow fell to the good Russians, and the Americans helping them. How do they have the supplies to make that trek? Okay, now they're attacking Miami. But because that's not exciting enough, Markov is saving his Trinity weapon for DC. Okay, if you fired that thing into the middle of Miami, you'd kill a lot of people. He also has the element of surprise in this case. Why would you even need this big assault? Just sneak in with your stealth fighter and fire the thing. No, we gotta save it for the capital. But guess what? They know that Markov is coming and the president even has time to make an address to all of his troops. Good job, you fucked up! So, killing the president of the nation that blew up your wife is a pretty disproportionate means of revenge, but it would have some pretty devastating effects. But the president is alerted to his arrival. Do you really think the president would even be in the White House? They know what Trinity is. They know it's coming to the Capitol. This isn't the first time Washington, D.C. has been threatened by fire from the sky. In fact, this isn't even the first time Washington, D.C. has been burned. You're just going to kill a bunch of poor people. Way to go, you fucking dick. So the president would probably be in a bunker, and government buildings for miles around are going to be evacuated. Congratulations. You're going to seriously inconvenience people for months, make fucking construction contractors rich, and are not actually going to set back your enemy in any real way. Way to go, you fucking dick! There's no way the president is gonna be on the balcony of the White House watching this unfold. It'd be like he's sitting there in a lawn chair with a six-pack while some Secret Service guy is going, Mr. President, we need to evacuate you. And the president is all, no sir, this is much better than Monday Night Raw. So he fires the Trinity at the White House, and you get one more stupid DFM section where you have to unload attacks into it and the day is saved. Hooray. Now, the story is fucking awful, but Ace Combat never had the best writing. My real issue here is how he tries hard to be realistic, and Ace Combats of old weren't. Sure, they had a slightly better foundation in reality compared to other games, but when it comes to narrative, pilots in Ace Combat weren't tactical operators. They were Knights of the Sky, much like the original Aces of the First World War. Okay, so the story sucks dick, but what about where it counts? This is where Assault Horizon falls flat on its face. You start off in the last level of the game. They were so lazy they used the same level twice. Scripting, voice acting, everything. Twice. You begin in the F-22, and already this is kind of a strange design choice. The F-22 is one of the best aircraft in the game, at least going by the stats, which are fucking negligible. Previously, the games had an actual sense of progression, as you started out in low-end fighters before moving on up to wild experimentals. It left you with a sense of change. It also gave you a bit of a metagame to contend with as you sorted out whether or not you blew all your money on some wicked cool fighter, or fielded a mix of lower end and more varied aircraft. In Assault Horizon, it just gives you a set pool of shit you can take, if at all. In addition, you start off in the stupid fucking roller coaster ride that is Dogfight Mode. It's literally the first thing you're given, you don't even have to do anything. The enemy you're chasing is nice enough to crash all on his own. No, seriously, watch.
Navigated at 1 o'clock.
He's mine, Guts.
I got you back, Bob. 04, break right. Magic, roger that. I'm on my way.
Hostile is closing on city. Engage and destroy.
Warwolf, bandits are heading toward the stadium.
Now, the dogfight mode might have been cool, but it's handled poorly. I'll draw a parallel with Fallout 3 and New Vegas with their VATS element. VATS allows the player to specifically target body parts for different effects or even disarm enemies altogether. It provided the player with a bit of strategy that they could utilize, and if it paid off, you got some pretty gory spectacles. However, VATS was limited by action points, and you had to let those replenish over time. In Assault Horizon, you can activate DFM whenever you want, and it doesn't do anything other than drag you along behind enemies. Enemies can sometimes break free of your DFM, but other times you can't even cancel it, and it drags you along on this obnoxious and fucking stupid thrill ride of explosions meant to excite the player. But you're not in control. You've got no influence over your fighter outside of aiming and shooting. This eliminates any risk there could possibly be to begin with, and thus any sense of excitement at all. Okay, this is the best way I can describe how DFM is handled. You're gonna need two things: the cardboard tube from a roll of paper towels, and a gun. Get in your car and drive out to the local playground. Now, using the gun, evict all of the children that may be at the playground. Children are known to grow up to 4 feet tall and are capable of throwing rocks and or pine cones when threatened. They will ruin this demonstration totally, since we've established that no matter what is happening in the background, it has no real effect on what is happening to the player. Now, you need to locate the carousel. Get on it. Spin it as fast as you can, and hold on tight. Once you get it going, bring up the paper tube to your eye and close the other like it's a telescope. This both simulates the obnoxious fuckery that is DFM and also the horrendous FOV that it uses. Okay, now you should probably get back in your car and leave because the police are definitely on their way by now. The irony is that for as fast as you go in DFM, the regular gameplay is slow as balls and basically boils down to spinning in circles. Whoever can go the slowest wins, since missile accuracy is pretty shit outside of DFM. Multiplayer isn't much better in that regard either. It's just a confusing ball of HDR and bad polygons twirling about in boring dog fights. This is because all aircraft basically handle the fucking same. The differences between them in performance is utterly negligible. Now, Assault Horizon also adds other vehicles to the equation. And by add, I mean crammed in without any fucking thought at all. Now, the less said about helicopters, the better. However, this is the truly amazing part. There's only a handful of these sections. 2 door gunner sections, 1 AC-130 section, 1 bomber section, and 2 helicopter sections. It's a fucking blessing these awful portions are used so sparsely, but why even bother if you're only going to intend them to use them a few times? It's this that leads me to believe Assault Horizon's bad choices were made out of sheer laziness. In the end, all Assault Horizon manages to do is provide Call of Duty in the sky. A lot of nerds proclaim that initially, but this is what I'm getting at. It's a shallow attempt at cloning 21st century warfare, full of lens flare and bloom, that emulates Call of Duty even down to the regenerating health. It's not up to par with previous installments of the series, and is honestly best left alone. Okay, I gotta go now. I think the police are at my door, and I can't let them find my...